Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture, and it's my 5th year anniversary on YouTube. Thank you all so much for helping me to get to this point. I never really could have gotten there without you. But now on to the matter at hand, the album you guys all voted for, the newest mixtape from Charli XCX, Pop 2. So I'm not surprised this beat out everything on the docket by a considerable margin. Yes, JID and NERD got close, and thankfully those sadists who wanted me to review Heartbreak on a Full Moon by Chris Brown never really got any groundswell, but if there was a project that attracted considerable attention very late last year, it was this one. And when you think about it in a traditional context, that's a bit of a strange thing too. But that's more because Charli XCX's entire career has been kind of bizarre. Her debut album, True Romance, in 2013 never really got a lot of traction, mostly because it was painfully mediocre, but she still had I Love It with Iconopop that year, and her follow-up, Sucker, a year later in 2014 had a genuine hit with Boom Clap, and seemed like the perfect project to break her through in the mainstream with a distinctive sound and style, and then that didn't really happen. Instead, she decided to join the cutting edge of modern pop production by linking up with the PC Music crew and Sophie, which led to a lot of critical acclaim and a die-hard cult following, but not really any hits. Instead, we got EPs like Vroom Vroom and mixtapes like Number One Angel and the one we're going to be talking about today, Pop 2. And given that I only opened up my schedule to EPs and mixtapes as of this year, I didn't really weigh in on either Vroom Vroom or Number One Angel, so let me handle that now. They're pretty good. I will say it's notable how much Sophie's sound has evolved since her production work on Vroom Vroom, and that Number One Angel definitely had its high points, most notably when Cupcake showed up, but for as much hype as Charli XCX has gotten for a lot of this work, I will say I was a bit underwhelmed. Granted, I'm the weirdo who still thinks Need Your Love is her best ever song from Sucker, and by a considerable margin, but I think my larger issue is that the main synth melody lines kind of felt a bit undercooked on those albums when we got them at all. But hey, neither of those have received the level of hype that Pop 2 got. This one got the real critical acclaim, so hopefully this is the one that really clicks for me, right? Well, not quite. But it still is really quite good, and I'm rapidly coming to realize from my preferences for what I like from Charli XCX, they're very different than those who are in her larger fan base, and I would put money on her listening to them a lot more than me. But as a whole, Pop 2 is a more refined and streamlined project at her other tapes, and arguably one of her better projects overall. Maybe not quite having the same lightning in a bottle that was Need Your Love for me, but showing an artist comfortable in her lane and her sound, and with a wealth of collaborators looking to enable it. In other words, very good, but not really quite for me, so I can't call it great in my eyes. And thus, I want to get my issues with this project out of the way pretty fast, and arguably, they're larger issues that I've got with the PC music aesthetic as a whole, which I think I could have come to like more with their icy slices of synth, the blocky beats, the blinding sheen, and the occasional flirtation with trap snares and hi-hats. It's the extremes of mainstream pop buffed into a mere shine, burrowing into just enough off-kilter edges and warping cascades of overlaid melody to hit some real stunning moments. But man, if there is a sound and texture that could use a solid underlying groove, it is this one. Yes, I get that some of the stuttered, jagged warping, that's part of the point, but my favorite pop songs have that coursing foundation that drives into the hook. Probably more of a fundamentally traditionalist point of view than the forward-thinking electronica that PC music pushes out, but I'll admit it's one reason I tend to gravitate to Poppy's music with similar themes and tones, but with a firmer underlying composition. And when you go through the songs that I like better from Charli XCX's list of collaborators, like from Carly Rae Jepsen, Tove Lo, Alma, Kim Petras, and even Cupcake, that foundational groove driving into the hook, that's been what pulls me back time and time again. Whereas on Pop 2, certain cuts just don't have that sense of momentum. I mean, Backseat gets close, but never really coalesces those jagged elements. And when you get songs like Tears, the stuttered tones, and the howling screams in the background, you're left wishing that with more groove, it wouldn't feel like so much of an overstuffed pile-up. That's another thing. I can appreciate maximalism as a production style. I like frank music. But both Charli XCX and PC Music have this weird tendency to overemphasize the treble in their production to slightly blow out their more synthetic elements, both in the vocal filters and the synthesizers, and it does start to get kind of distracting, actively grating on the first third of Unlock It, but fortunately the bubblier tones when Kim Petras comes in, they drown that out. Then there are some of the guest vocalists, and look, while it cannot be easy to ride this production production as an MC, Cupcake and maybe Mykki Blanco are the only ones who seem to really get this aesthetic. Don't get me wrong, Jay Park and Tommy Cash, they sound okay, but their content and delivery just don't really fit the uber synthetic space that Charli XCX inhabits on this project. But that unfortunately raises another criticism that I have around some of the writing here. Yes, there is something definitely intriguing about Charli XCX's passionate, desperate yearning that has her wishing that she could transcend emotions to find that same synthetic, calculated place to take sex without any consequences that some guys have, and she points out. It's what gives songs like Backseat and Out of My Head and Lucky and Femmebot such punch, and it also helps make track 10 easily my favorite song on this album. Not just in how it juxtaposes what sounds like a harp against the whirling, borderline chiptune spikes and the heavy vocal overdubs. It's a really good contrast. I wish this album worked that angle more often. But also the remix of her older song that shows her finding real faith in a partner stepping up to show emotional support that's unparalleled by the rest of the album. It's a really great closer. But I do wish Charli XCX had leaned into the futuristic subtext and the truly warped metaphorical possibilities of the writing beyond just half-gargled trap hooks like on I Got It, a song that's only really saved from mediocrity by Cupcake and not help how I just cannot tolerate Brooke Candy in any capacity. It just strikes me as the one place where Charli XCX could really push to match the sonic experimentation. That's really it. She could get there with the writing, she just not quite there yet. But to be fair, this is a mixtape, and we're most here to watch Charli XCX bounce off of unconventional production with a murderous row of great collaborators. And to her credit, her partially synthesized vocals, they're a great match for the more organic, sensual presence you'll hear from Carly Rae Jepsen or Kim Petras or Dorian Electra, or even against the harder edge from Tove. I was actually a little amazed how much raw emotionality that Charli XCX can wring out of that specific vocal filter. And when you add to it how well Alma just dominates the hook on Out of My Head, she really deserves to be a lot bigger than she is. Or how well Dorian Electra just complements the fluorescently garish synth grooves off of Femmebot, or how Mia plays off what sounds like the robotic woodwinds on Porsche, a song that I actually kind of like. There's more hits than misses here. Hell, I actually kind of really liked how well the wispy vocal layering on Lucky builds some real swell, an easily predecessor to what track 10 delivers with one of the strongest hooks she's got. And even tracks I don't entirely like, such as Tears, they have production details I really appreciate. Charli XCX and Carolyn Polachek, they've got really good chemistry, and I like those unearthly screams lingering in the back of the mix to highlight the unsteady rage beneath the real melancholic sadness of this breakup. But you know what, as a whole, again, while I find this to be a very good project, I am also firmly aware what keeps Charli XCX from really clicking for me is what so many of her fans find so damn appealing, and what probably will keep her outside of the mainstream, at least for the immediate future, because hell, if you want to give these songs a stronger underlying foundation driving into that hook, the production is not that far removed from tones you will otherwise hear in mainstream pop, but it's that unstable, rickety assembly that gives PC music and Charli XCX specifically their distinctive sound. And even then, as much as I hope Charli XCX takes her writing a step deeper or more complex, she's still got plenty of space to expand within this sound with or without me on board. So with all that in mind, I'm going to give this a solid 7 out of 10 and a recommendation. If you haven't gotten on board with Charli XCX's mixtapes, this is a fine place to start. And I think you'll wind up surprised how much you will actually wind up liking this. So yeah, definitely check this out. It's pretty good. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. And thank you all for giving me 5 years on this platform. It's been through a lot the past 5 years, nearly coming up on 1,000 reviews, and I've got something special planned for that. But yeah, it's really been a lot of fun. I've really come to learn and enjoy a lot, and well, this year in particular hasn't quite seen the growth I was hoping. I think some of that just will come around as times develop and I continue to improve my overall technique and what I'm looking to do on the channel. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward that the next 1,000 reviews and the next year is going to be pretty interesting, so I got some ideas on the horizon. We'll see what comes out of that. But beyond that, if there's anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. You want to buy this record in some capacity? Link down there, it's in the description below. And I got the poll up there for all you PC Music and Charli XCX fans. Tell me how I'm wrong, and this is a perfect record. I'm looking forward to it. Beyond that, if you guys want to get involved in my scheduling process, so I could have covered records like this a lot earlier, the link to my Patreon is right over there, where 3 times a week you guys get to vote on my schedule, and once a week for the higher tier contributors, you guys get to add albums, movies, or even a top 10 list to that schedule. More details right over there. You want to see my schedule, it's on my Instagram, link down there below. But till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse for 5 years, and I'll see you next time.